What's going on, guys? OneEyedBandit back again with yet another video talking about more Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 3 character specific changes I would like to see. And today we are doing Android 17 on the account of me. So basically what I do here is I take a character and I start the discussion on if they need a buff or a nerf within the next patch. Most characters are going to need a buff, and 17 is definitely on that list. Since none of you guys actually gave a character that you wanted to see buffed or nerfed in the last Beerus video, then I decided to take it upon myself and do Android 17 myself. So let's just start the discussion about Android 17. So Android 17 is a character that was very hyped up for when he was coming out. I believe this stems upon what happened in the Tournament of Power. This is where all the hype came from. If the Tournament of Power never happened, we would not have gotten Android 17. That is a fact. And a lot of people believed when he first came out that he was very high tier. And it didn't last long because he definitely fell off after that immensely. He's not even close to being S tier. I believe he's sitting high B tier, maybe very low A tier, but there's not much that you can say about the character of him being extremely good or extremely bad. 17 has decent frame advantage when he's throwing out his standing jabs. A lot of them are, safe, very safe to do. That means, what safe means is if you throw them out, you can block right after without having to worry about if your opponent can catch you off guard and hit you first. And 17 definitely has that stagger pressure to be able to do that. A lot of characters do, but 17 isn't one of those characters that needs to worry about his frame advantage too much. His stand mediums, they go decently far. And it's a decent move to throw out. Like, let's say you stagger a little bit with your standing light back up, and then your opponent decides they want to hit a button. It's okay to back up a decent amount because his stand medium will catch them with this elbow he has. His low medium, it doesn't go as far as his stand medium, but it's still fairly okay. You definitely don't want to just end off with this move in a stagger or whatever, because you're going to get caught and you're probably going to die if your opponent catches you, because it is safe, but it's not the safest move you want to do. It's -6. Anything below -6 is very safe. Anything above that is not safe at all. So that's just a tip to throw out there for you guys. His stand heavy, decent. Again, any normal that lunges you forward is a very good move, honestly, in my opinion. It can catch your opponent off guard if they're a bit too far from you and want to throw out a jab or anything. You can definitely catch them with this move and continue a combo. His down heavy isn't the best in the world, but I guess it could get the job done. It's actually really bad, honestly. Not as bad as like a Krillin or a Beerus, but it isn't the best in the world. And you definitely don't want to just throw that out within like anything. I would actually opt for a reflect for this character if you were to say, if your opponent were to say throw out a random super dash. I would opt for the reflect, but that's just me. You could get lucky, throw out the down heavy and be alright, but it's alright. It's all okay in the end if you can time it right. That's just how down heavies work. But the character is kind of small, so some of his normals just kind of don't reach your opponent sometimes, and I guess that's okay. So there's not much you can really do about this. If you whiff a jab, it sucks, yes, but that's just him being small. You could increase the hitbox on it, I guess, but not really the range because of how small he is. And so this brings me to the real buffs I would like to see on this character within the Season 3 patch. Android 17 is a character that relies mainly on his Rekka strings. His Rekkas, you can go low, you can go high, you can throw out a barrier and absorb a hit of your opponent, and you can even throw out a blast after that barrier to actually continue your combo. The character is very technical when it comes to these Rekkas, because you can literally do almost whatever you want. The thing about it though is they're not safe to do. So you don't want to end off with any of these Rekkas because your opponent is going to catch you and they're going to hurt you. So my suggestion to buffing this Rekka personally is two things. When you do his high Rekka, for it to not be able to be reflected and or 2H'd, because it just bugs me when I see a character like Gogeta being released and he has a Rekka that can't be reflected, it can't be 2H'd, even though he does throw an overhead out in it. It just makes sense to give almost any character with a Rekka that has an overhead, give them that opportunity to be able to throw out their Rekka and not get reflected with the gap that it has, or not get 2H, because that encourages people to not use the move to its full advantage. Of course, you get that sometimes where nobody is going to reflect it, nobody's going to 2H it, they just can't react to it. But when it comes to like higher level of play, people are going to react to that move because it just isn't fair, it isn't the best, and it's kind of easy to react to. So make it to where your opponent has to block this, right? Because they're going to block everything else, and you can only go low and you can either only go high, so might as well just let the move not be overheaded or reflected. It would just make the character tons times better, and he would definitely shoot up the ranks. He would be a A+ tier, S tier. It doesn't matter what tier he would be in, he would be high if this Rekka was able to not be reflected in a simple string. And up next, we have the fact that the strings, like I said, aren't plus in any way, shape, or form. Throwing this move out, or throwing his Rekka out, period, it's just not safe to do. Like, let's say you have no more you have no more assist, right, and it's just you, and you have to, throw out staggers, and then you decide, I'm just gonna end it all and throw out my Rekkas against the blocking opponent. The minute you're done with that, you can't block because your opponent will be able to hit you out of it because you're not safe. So honestly, to me, I would make the end of this Rekka -6, or like let's say you whiff the the barrier. Of course, that should be punishable, but how punishable it should be is it needs to be toned down in some shape, way, or form, because you throw out the barrier and your opponent has every right to just murder you afterwards, and that just kind of sucks, right? So basically, Android 17, the only way to buff this character to me is to just make his Rekkas way better than they need to be, because as it stands right now, the fact that you can reflect the overhead in the Rekka, like I said, just discourages people from using it. And lastly, the last thing I would honestly buff on this character, or take away and replace, is this move here where he bounces on the walls. Of course, like in a block string, in the corner, it can be viable, because if you do it at the right time, you can time it to where your assist can hit the opponent on the other side, and you can essentially get a free combo off. But this just isn't the most viable move, because your opponent can 2H it. It has a slight recovery to it. If you land in front of your opponent, it has -7, so you're not even at the frame advantage you would want to be. Like, it's not even -6, so if you land in front of your opponent and they start hitting you, you're gonna lose that mash battle every single time. This move just kind of seems very, very pointless. Of course, you can use it to get closer to your opponent very fast. Of course, you can cancel it into Ki Blast or whatever he can do, level 1s, level 3s, but these are all things that, like, what do they matter for, essentially? So that is my way I would fix this character. Other than that, the character is okay, right? He's not really that bad, but it's just certain things that if he were to have, he would be a whole lot better. And that is my belief. Android 17 could be S tier easily with just a few changes, And I honestly want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what you would do to fix this character, especially if you main this character. What would you do to fix him? How would you fix him? If you guys don't like the character, what would you do to nerf him? And lastly but not least, name a character that you would like to see me attempt to buff and or nerf within the next season 3 patch, because these videos are all up to you guys. And yeah, basically, like, comment, subscribe. Remember that God and anime are always on your side. Please come join the Bandit Army. That's all I got for y'all. Peace out.